Generated structures such as villages are one of the greatest places to head to start off your survival world. And today's seed has one of the biggest expectations that lead to one of the biggest disappointments. Because you might have noticed we spawned right inside of a pretty decent sized taiga, right next to an actual stony mega taiga over here, which is easily one of the greatest places to get yourself a ton of wood to start off your game, as well as an azalea tree, which can only mean one thing, that there is a lush cave beneath us. And instead of having to dig around for it, all you have to do is head to these corners around here, because you'll eventually find yourself a pretty decent cave opening, leading yourself right the way down into a lush cave. But heading back to the surface, you might have noticed that this is actually a center isle right in the middle of these mega lakes and mega rivers and mega oceans around the place, which, you know, could arguably be seen as a pretty decent place on starting up your base or your house or something like that. But what about that structure disappointment I was talking about right at the very spawn? What was that all about? Well, basically, if you head in this direction from spawn, you'll eventually come across a village or a semi-village. I don't know if I could necessarily count this as a village, because when we eventually get there, you might notice that there's a few certain things that's missing from this one particular village. And if you haven't spotted it yet, then I'll give you a second to figure out what is necessarily missing inside this one village. Yeah. Where are all the villagers? Where are all the village houses? And it's not just a perspective thing. Like, if we fly ourselves up here, we can see that literally not a single house or structure has actually generated inside of this one village. And no, I'm not counting the planters or these little things or something like that. But even with the lack of villagers, somehow we're still managing to get ourselves some cat spawning in here and the necessary iron golem that traditionally spawns inside of a village, which is kind of an odd thing. And just in case you're wondering, this is the cave below it, and yeah, no villages happen to spawn in here, just in case. But I believe every single time a village is actually generated, there is that chance of a villager house either generating in or not generating in, and as we can see right here, every single village house and villager that had the chance of spawning in was a nil, which means you kind of get that desolate feeling of like, something is supposed to happen here, but nothing necessarily is. And honestly, I sort of see this as a blank canvas. Like, you could kind of imagine what a villager or what a village houses and things like that could be inside of here, and this could be a great opportunity for you or someone else to actually build up their own type of village. I mean, the paths are laid down, the farms are already laid down, some of the campfires are already laid down. Like, you already have the pretty decent idea as to what the shape of this village is going to look like. Then all you gotta do is add in all the houses and things like that. But yeah, I can't necessarily say this is the most useful village I've ever seen in the world, seeing as there is literally no villages inside of it, but it is still a pretty interesting thing that I don't think I've ever personally found until today. But if you're looking for some structures inside the seed, then you need not look far inside the nether, because if we place the portal right here and we go through it, and then from your spawn you head down this one ledge right here, you'll eventually come across a bastion remnant. And apart from the dangers of the lava below, this doesn't seem necessarily too hard in getting in and out of. And heading back to the overworld, if we head in this direction right here, that we eventually get essentially a line of every single different type of wood type, because we already have the spruce, the oak, and the birch. But if we head in this direction, we eventually get ourselves some dark oak right here. And not too far past this dark oak forest, we eventually find ourselves the jungle right over in this direction. And I guess I might as well mention there is a rune portal hidden itself right here. Okay, but that's 5 different types of overworld wood types in 1.18. Where's the acacia? Well, if you just head yourself over in this direction over here, then you might have already seen it. There's actually an acacia biome sitting itself literally right here, which means essentially in the first few hundred blocks of the spawn, you actually get all different types of 1.18 wood types you find in the overworld. Oh, and I should probably mention, even though the village by spawn had no villagers, there are villages around the spawn, a few hundred blocks out, that do actually have some structures. And this is about a 1400 block walk, but if you are willing to go that far, then you'll eventually find yourself a maze of badlands right here, and one with some pretty steep elevation around the place. Kind of funny when you think about how much stuff the seed actually has to offer, but you still have to start off with this disappointment of a village.